Hello, my name is Alexander Morari, and I'm the founder of ITKeyMedia. You've tuned into our podcast about Central and Eastern European startups that are in pre-Series A stage. And our guest today is the one and only, should I say, Tomasz Rudolf, the co-founder of Doctor.One. Doctor.One is a next-generation virtual clinic helping patients get better access to doctors online. Dobry wieczór.
Dobry wieczór.
Tomasz, yes, hello. As a warm-up, I should say to everybody that in the very first kind of moments of our interaction before the recording, I was quite sure this is a virtual background behind your back, but I understand this is not.
Oh, those are real books, yeah.
So that's a showcase bookcase, you could say, right? Anything you would recommend us, like off the bat? Something that you've read recently or most relevant to, let's say, your company, maybe?
I've been reading a lot about medicine because I'm new to this space. I've been in healthcare just the last 3 years, but one that I'm just reading at the moment is The Lonely Society, about how actually alone we are and how people, I don't know, in Japan commit crimes just to get into jail, not to be alone at home, and how that affects different industries. We are obviously most thinking about how it affects healthcare, because Doctor.One's idea is just for the patient not to feel alone with their health problems anymore, by having someone that knows you and that guides you in your health problems around your health journey around for years. So returning to this private doctor that you might have had in the past in villages or small cities that knew your family, and we're trying to bring that back for everyone in the 21st century, obviously with mobile technology. So I'm very much inspired by the Lonely Society book, but yeah, many others that I would definitely recommend.
Yeah, Lonely Society. It's like what I say, to be lonely in the crowd, right? That's one of those.
Yeah, you have lots of connections on social media, whatever, but still deep inside you feel anonymous. And it might be in telemedicine, we have access to doctors, but none of those doctors know us, and it's very transactional. We don't feel that somebody really knows us and likes us for who we are and accepts us, and we need that sense of belonging. And obviously it's harder and harder. We had that earlier book, Bowling Alone, about American society changes and how harder it is for us to get and keep friends, and our families are spread apart, and so on and so on. So we're losing a lot of those social networks in real life, and that also affects our actual health. If we feel alone, it really has bad influence on our well-being. So
we are social animals, right? After all.
Yeah, and you might see that for couples. So when one of them passes away, the other one gets really sick very quickly, quite often. So
yeah. And moreover, you could say, like, while you are on this topic, very often this is probably a little bit cynical, but could be pragmatic, and it's not supported at all. The sooner the second spouse goes away or passes away, probably the closer the bond, the tighter the bond was during their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you don't care so much, you can live forever after your spouse dies. But let's come back. Thanks for this warm-up, and now this is the time when you can unroll your pitch speech and all the accolades about the company itself. Just a quick intro. Doctor.One. This is some say unique virtual clinic or virtual medical practice, right, for professionals. I have lots of questions, but let's do the usual trick. How would you write the first paragraph in a Wikipedia article about the company, if it's not there yet? I haven't checked.
It's not there yet. We're just actually finalizing it tomorrow with our friend advisor, because obviously being on the market for like half a year, we've learned a lot on how to communicate this. So it's work in progress. But what we definitely are doing is we're creating a new standard of care, hopefully a global one, where everybody has a private doctor that knows you, that cares for you, that has time for you, and a doctor that you can reach from your phone whenever you have a problem, And it's also with a direct communication to the doctor. And it's a doctor also that is proactive, that reaches out to you to check up if you're feeling well, if the medicine worked, if your daughter is feeling better, and so on and so on. So it's really returning to the roots of healthcare, where relationship is the basis of care. Even the word care, we care about our parents, our kids, or whatever, because we have a relationship with them. Healthcare as a system doesn't really care. I mean, you're a number, you're a social security number, whatever, to this system as such. People care, doctors care. And we're really trying to look at healthcare as a system and rebuild the doctor-patient relationship as the foundation of that. We believe it's crucial, actually, if we want to have people increase or at least keep their health span in the current challenges with an aging society, with a diminishing number of doctors worldwide. The WHO says there are 4 million or so doctors missing from the system. The biggest bet so far, and especially in the tech industry, is that let's replace the doctors with AI, with automation, with symptom checkers and everything else. And it's super important to make doctors productive and efficient and give them access to data. But what we would love to do with Doctor.One is to make sure that the future of healthcare isn't just AI, that it's also HI, as we call the human interaction or the human intimacy. And to ensure that the future of healthcare isn't just artificial intelligence, it's real empathy, for human empathy that we need in order to feel secure, to feel cared for, to feel understood, and also to feel challenged to live a healthier life. Because as we look at the current healthcare challenges for the system that is designed right now, 80% of healthcare costs come from chronic diseases, and those civilizational chronic diseases might be actually prevented. And we spend usually like 3% on prevention, while the 80% then gets generated with the low prevention of the work that you're doing. And the doctor, in order to be effective, cannot be just an anonymous doctor that meets you on a telemedicine platform once and solves your acute problem. A doctor that really has the relationship to challenge you, stop smoking, start exercising, those are your sleep patterns, I find this worrying, or your blood has changed from last visit, or you even look differently. A doctor like that, in order to have impact on your lifestyle, on your habits, has to have a relationship, and we're trying to rebuild that relationship. It's very challenging, obviously, because the pattern, the way of thinking of the whole industry, from booking engines for telemedicine to portals to old school office-based visits, everything is built around individual, fragmented, reactive visits, patient-initiated in most cases, and we believe that shouldn't be the future of healthcare.
Tomasz, can I follow up with a couple of questions? Quick Q&A. Okay, first, what you described in the very beginning sounded to me as a focus on family doctors or family medicine. Is this your key starting point?
It's our beachhead markets. Obviously, pediatrics is a number one, and family medicine in general for adults is second. But we have launched the company in December, so about 6 months ago, and we have right now 33 different specializations of doctors in our clinic, from obviously family medicine and pediatrics, but we have almost all that you can imagine, maybe except for anesthesia and anesthesiologists and pathologists and whatever. But yeah, there are just so many doctors that feel that the continuity of care is important, and that they have permanent patients that they care about, that they want to follow up, that they want to support between visits. And those doctors believe that the visit is just a tool in the doctor's toolkit, but it shouldn't be the only one. Whether the visit is online or offline doesn't matter. it's a synchronous interaction where we communicate. But a doctor right now, just like we in our businesses, have different tools like email and Slack and whatever, and WhatsApp and so on and so on. We can share documents, we can share information, and so on and so on. And the visit where we meet isn't the only and the most productive way to, especially one that is blocked for always being 15 or 20 minutes. That visit isn't the only way for doctor and patient to communicate. So what we're really doing is creating a system where the visit obviously might happen from time to time, but the doctor is in constant communication with the patient, and the patient can write to the doctor anytime. What we have designed as our unique element that we haven't seen anywhere in the world in doctor-patient communication is the concept of the daily round. The daily round is something that the doctors know from hospitals, because they go from bed to bed in the morning and they adjust the treatment plan and so on. And what we brought really online is this virtual round where the doctor has a certain time every day. It might be different time, different days, but in general, like once a day, the doctor opens the app and checks what's happening with my patients and responds to those messages asynchronously, either by writing or chatting with the patient, or by calling the patient in their app with video or just audio, by sending a prescription, by sending a tip to adjust the treatment plan, asking the patient to go and do some labs and then send the documents and so on. Meaning that as a result, the doctor might just within a few minutes communicate maybe with 10 patients or 20 without having to spend 10 times 20 minutes, but just 20 minutes in total, and be paid for that, not per visit, but be paid for per month of care. Because we have started our model with out of pocket. So currently in our pilot phase, only patients pay directly to their doctors if they really want them. There is a direct quality connection on both sides. I pay, so I get a quality service. If I don't get a quality service, I cancel this because I see no value in such a support. The doctor might cancel that if he or she feels he cannot be of support for that patient, or if, which hasn't happened so far, the patient would misuse somehow this or be annoying or whatever. Or but in general, this daily round is something that has worked beautifully in making this relationship work, and the patients feel really supported during the daily rounds, and the doctors don't feel that they have pressure to be always on, to have the pressure to be a chatbot and respond within seconds or minutes after the patient writes to them. It creates like a service level agreement where the patient writes, and immediately as I type, I see when the doctor's next availability is. Yeah. And the doctor doesn't feel that if I respond in an hour or two, I'm actually neglecting my patient. In most cases, like 90%, as our data shows, the doctors actually respond earlier than the daily round, because they have a break, they have a no-show, the patient didn't come, so they have a break, or the patient marked the message as urgent, and the doctor, whenever he or she had a free moment, they checked in and called back on the patient in the app, or they wrote to the patients asking what's the problem, or responded with a prescription or tip or whatever. So that's actually has been working for us amazingly. We have been working for a very long time in solving that problem of a work-life balance on the doctor side and patient anxiety and need for constant care. The assumption in the industry is that when a patient has a problem, you need urgently a solution, and it's important to do it, I don't know, either via chatbot or via call center type of medicine, where the first doctor available answers your problem within minutes. Yeah. We have done some research, and actually it shows that patients are willing to wait from 8 to 24 hours if it's still the doctor that knows them, that they trust, that has known their patient history for ages. until they decide, okay, maybe if it's longer, I'd rather consult with a different doctor. So our daily round actually solves that, because the risk that the doctor will not respond in 24 hours is minimal. It doesn't happen. And that's actually creating a beautiful way for doctors to keep supporting patients. And it keeps patients really connected to care, feeling secure, feeling supported. Hopefully, we'll be doing some clinical trials on this soon, better adhering to therapies, and avoiding some complications after surgeries, because it's not just for GPs and pediatricians. We have, for example, a doctor from the neonatology department in the Children's Hospital that gives that after weeks spent in hospital. When the kid goes out home, the parents are obviously very scared. The baby is fragile. It has spent in hospital. Maybe the hospital has saved the life of the baby, and it usually has some problems that parents are worried about. But they keep connected to their own doctor for weeks or months, and we're testing that scenario. We have doctors that want to use it after transplants, after surgeries, to coordinate care after different hospital visits as well. So we have diabeticians, we have other specializations as well that just use it as a way to continuously support patients and to move away business-wise from a business model based on selling visits, fee-for-service, to a business model that's subscription-based, that's focused on selling quality care, feeling that you're supported, where the doctor might do prevention and be paid for that, rather than just generate more work for themselves. Because obviously, if you're paid for keeping people healthier, you're more motivated to do an annual checkup, because that's part of the value you provide for the patient. You keep them checking their health, you keep following up on their blood results, and so on and so on. And that's actually how our star doctors that we have built this with, that's how they have been working for many decades. Sometimes they have been giving their private phones, they have been supporting their patients between visits. Only the small difference is they weren't paid for that. The data wasn't in hospital systems. It was just in the doctor's phone. It wasn't compliant. It wasn't secure. It wasn't reimbursed. The data from those consultations weren't integrated with a government's electronic medical records. We have done all that. So we kind of have created a secure medical WhatsApp, if you will, that is acting as a doctor's tool to manage patients, to send prescriptions, to keep your friend patients on your contact list happy and healthy. But obviously the technology is just a tool for a new way of treating patients and keeping them healthy and caring for them, and being paid for that without feeling that you're misusing, or that they are actually using your time too much. It's really improving a lot for both sides.
It's almost like in the ancient royal families, doctors would be paid for the period when royal family members are healthy, rather than for the period when they were curing or giving medicine for something. Look, I have a round of questions here. Now. So first, asynchronous communication. Who you think was the reason, the doctors or patients, more to introduce or to base your platform on asynchronous communication? Meaning, I leave a message, and when the doctor has the time or has this daily round scheduled, or any other time in the schedule, they will check and then they will respond. Okay, I understand. Who was the initiator, you would say?
In most cases, obviously, the patients initiate care, because that's the paradigm we have. I mean, if you have
no. Who helped you? Who forced you, or who gave you the idea to introduce the asynchronous? Okay. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole idea of Doctor.One is doctor-centric. It was designed by doctors with doctors. My co-founder, Maciej, who was head of innovation in one of the leading private healthcare providers, has a wife that's a doctor, and he has doctors for lunch and dinner all the time. And they were complaining always, and they were getting calls during lunch or dinner on Sunday from their patients, and they were complaining about this. That they don't never have a life, because if they give their private phone, they keep getting annoyed. On the other hand, those were doctors that truly wanted to help their patients and keep in contact and so on. So we saw that as one of the triggers. The need from the patients to get support and between visits, and the need for doctors to support their patients, to monitor treatment, to get actually feedback if what I did during the visit has worked or not, because that's how you're learning, how you're intellectually developing as a doctor, by having a feedback loop, but also getting a positive feeling of gratitude from the patients. Okay, you've helped me, thank you so much. And that's the joy of being a doctor. You're helping people. You see the happy face of somebody that's cured. So a random anonymous patient will not give you that. So we heard a lot of stories about this. So obviously the asynchronous visit was designed with our UX team, which has done an amazing job of solving that unsolvable problem of giving access to the patient all the time, but at the same time not feeling that the doctor will be overwhelmed. We were designing it last year for a few weeks, trying to test it with patients. A solution that didn't have the daily round. Immediately, when we pitched the concept of a subscription-based communicator, we're like WhatsApp, where you can just write anytime and be in contact without this daily round. No doctor wanted that. When he said, but we have this limit, this service level agreement, and there is a daily round that is somehow managing the expectations of the patients. That turned from the interest from 10% to 90%.
Tomasz, one quick question here. This daily round, technically speaking, this is at a specific time?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes. And every doctor. No, not by the system. Every doctor has a calendar where you say, okay, on Mondays I have time at noon, or on Tuesday I have time at 5, or every day I have times 8 a.m. or 5 p.m.
To check messages,
Saturday
right?
And Sundays to check messages and respond to them.
Okay. This is also based on asynchronous communication. Okay, so let's say technically, Tomasz, you're my GP, or you are our family doctor, right? So I know that your daily rounds are daily, 8 a.m. I know that if I send something before 8 a.m., you will manage to read it for this day, right? And react somehow. Okay, clear. Now.
And if it's urgent, I might write any time, just mark it urgent, and that the doctor will be alerted immediately.
No, you're the doctor now. You're the doctor in this case. Okay, so if it's urgent, I think this is high importance. I don't know, kid scratched, leg, or I think broke or twisted,
or has 40
or something,
or a fever, a very high fever, and you're very worried. Then you mark it.
You have this alert level, right?
Alert. Okay. It's obviously a trusted relationship. Our doctors, actually, which is kind of unique, invite their patients to their private practice. So you cannot just go to our website as a patient that doesn't have a private doctor, or a doctor that knows you and so on, and just book any doctor, any random one. We are growing, at least for now, for the last few months, with doctors that have invited their community, their either people visiting their clinic, or their people that are visiting for house calls, or whatever. They have given that opportunity to join their practice. And then those people join. So it's important for that, and that builds trust. So I mean, I know you as a patient. I've seen you face to face. I know you. I've done the onboarding. I've got your medical history. And then I might support you via telemedicine, because I know your history. I don't need to spend so much time with every visit to get the same from scratch. So for actually the burnout of doctors, you're not spending time with anonymous boxes in your calendar of tens of those meetings in a day. You're just deciding which patient to answer first. You are the boss of this, and you decide whether with one patient you spend 1 minute because it's so simple, and with the other you might spend half an hour because it's, I don't know, a life-threatening disease and you need to discuss it with the patient. So that removes the pressure from the doctor to be a robot that's doing everything in 15-minute increments.
Yeah, brilliant. So basically it creates a situation where perceived value is commensurate to the seriousness of a case on my part, as a patient. So if I think this is not serious and I get a solution, I'm 100% satisfied. If I think it's serious and I get also a good solution, I'm 100% satisfied. But the doctor saves lots of time and effort in the meantime. And you touched on a question I wanted to ask as well. I thought it was somewhere between the lines, but I think you mentioned this. It's easiest, or more profitable, should I say, more cynically, for you to cooperate with private practices first and foremost, right? This is the only way for you to go now, just because the public service is like more bulky and not that dynamic and not that open to innovation of this type and so on.
You don't get such a new way of treating patients reimbursed within weeks after creation of a new model. So obviously we need to prove that it works, and maybe after some point, after our clinical trials that we're preparing right now are done, we'll have some pilots with the government. We'll see in different scenarios for oncology, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and so on. We see huge potential for that and huge interest. We just won the award for the best healthcare startup at the government-supported economic congress because people believe it actually has potential to solve access issues for good care. It can unlock some time of doctors, which is really scarce resource. With aging, we have pediatrics doctors that the average age is over 60. So we have areas where getting a good doctor, specialist consult will become really tough to do. So we need to unlock those visits which are not necessary and give more time to doctors to spend on those cases when they believe it's important. Obviously, we're starting with one-on-one communication, patient to doctor, doctor to patient. We are working
live, you mean?
On extending
live.
Not live, asynchronous. So it might be I write
all the time. Okay.
After an hour, but the connection is I'm connected with you as a patient and I'm your doctor. What we are working on right now as well, which is a little bit more sophisticated because it requires additional protocols, is involving, for example, a nurse in this, or a junior doctor and a senior doctor working as a care team, or complementary specializations working as a care team on one subscription. So for example, we're working with a sports company that has been doing labs and consults with cardiologists or normal GP or a dietitian and so on. We are bundling those into micro subscriptions as well, and we might get a triathlon or a subscription where you get the full care team doing your checkups and supporting you from tournament to tournament and as your medical team and so on for one subscription, and then working as one team, communicating with each other and so on. So from a total unbundling of the market, which we have done, so because normally you've bought like a national medical insurance from the government or from the private insurer, which give you access to everything. We have unbundled it so that you might subscribe to one doctor. Now we are bundling it a little bit more by those additional, more advanced subscriptions where a care team is the basis of that subscription.
Yeah, you read my mind. Basically, I want to ask whether or not there is a way to transfer data from a GP to a specialist.
Because your data stays the same. I mean, if you add another doctor to your account, that doctor has access to all your medical data by default.
To all of it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Another question. So there's a potential for, at some scale, of course, there's a potential, I think, for big data kind of approach to interaction with your patients. And at some point, the system, if properly designed, I'm sure you have all the brain power and strategic thinking for that. if properly designed, the system could spit out by itself solutions for next similar cases, at least as an option to consider. Do you have anything like this, or is it too complicated at this stage?
We're not at that stage yet, because obviously if you launch with we have 70 something doctors right now, almost 80. So we're just learning the patterns and the needs and so on. But obviously there's huge potential in developing it further. One obviously is automation for the doctor to help them get reminded about the follow-ups, for example. So, for example, you might have a super simple rules that if you've given an antibiotic or whatever, then immediately 1 or 2 or 3, whatever days after that, you get a follow-up message either to the doctor to ask the patient how they're feeling, or to the patient how they're feeling, so that the doctor gets an answer on their daily round. So there are many ways of doing that. So automation.
Tomasz, or just click, yes, I took the medicine, I took the pill.
Exactly. So different
ways. Which is an interaction. Yeah.
Exactly. So measuring patient-reported outcomes. Are you feeling better, or what's your fever, whatever, so that you get more data from the patient. Constant monitoring of the patient, connecting it with medical devices. Get bundling.
You have this already, or this is planned? IoT or wearables?
We don't have that, but obviously, if you are using, for example, a digital stethoscope, you might send to your doctor the result of your assessment. So your private doctor will get that assessment, and you get a prescription or advice from a doctor that knows you, rather than from a call center. So we see ourselves in that collaboration with different digital service providers of devices that support diagnosis and care. We see huge potential of bundling what we're doing, which is a network of doctors connected to patients, which acts more or less like as a utility, as a telecom and a billing system, and then bundling that with devices in medicine that can be bundled with such subscription, more or less just like you go to your T-Mobile or or any other provider or Orange, and you buy access to the network for a monthly fee, plus you buy a device for a monthly fee, and that's a beautiful alignment. What we saw, I've spent more than 2 decades in corporate new business venture building and designing new business models. Why those devices haven't taken off is that they are trying to come with a subscription-based model that's replacing the doctor visit, the need for the doctor visit, and bundled at the same time with a model that's based where the doctor makes all the money on doctor visits. The doctors are not eager to use such tools because they're using their main source of income. While if you bundle, the doctor gets paid per month, they don't need to do visits just for the sake of doing a visit. They might just decide, okay, for this, I need a visit. And for that, I don't need a visit. I just need the results. Yeah. So we see a huge alignment and huge potential for supporting actually such medical device manufacturers and go-to-market and a huge synergy on the markets here.
Don't you think that the more successful your startup is, or this business model of interaction between patients and doctors, the more opposition, visible or invisible, you might have from the pharmaceutical industry, which is capitalizing on the, I shouldn't say probably chronic disease, or capitalizing on giving one-off solution to something that could have been prevented in the first place.
That's not something that would worry me. I mean, if it means that we are actually preventing diseases, then that's the goal of doing the startup. So if you're not changing anything, you're not upsetting anyone, and I hope we will be upsetting some people. I truly hope we'll upset some people. And obviously, I mean, companies need to reinvent themselves. And I know many amazing people in the pharma industry that are trying to redefine their business models as well, to provide more digital and continuous care solutions and so on, and not necessarily sell pills or drugs or whatever. and sell outcomes or better health. So I believe the future of pharma obviously will be maybe different than the pharma we know now, or the pharma from 10 or 20 years ago. And just like many other industries probably will need to evolve. We will be evolving hopefully with that, but I actually have a few discussions right now with pharma companies that want to use Doctor.One as a way to bundle their treatment plan with a care model where they can monitor outcomes, where they can monitor and support the patients and the doctors in reaching best possible level of patient and doctor satisfaction and great medical outcomes and lower cost. Because if you're avoiding unnecessary visits or complications, it's actually a better outcome for the system. And those pharma companies which can prove this will get reimbursed by states or other payers better. So we have a lot of those discussions right now for oncology or other scenarios, use cases. And that's obviously the future for us. We've started with a use case that's super simple, like pediatrics and GP, where the problems aren't that severe, where obviously there are lots of drugs or OTC and patients often cure themselves, but they need to consult and they need to figure out if they're not if they're making right decisions, and they don't want to just count on Dr. Google to give them the answer.
Yeah. Ever changing its mind. I mean, Dr. Google, depending where you venture. Tomasz, one question. So private healthcare sector probably is the easy to foresee as your client, as your first interaction kind of stakeholder, external stakeholder. But of course, it's not a secret that majority of people, citizens in every country, are taken care of by the public healthcare system. In public healthcare system, I think one of the issues is the way patients have to make appointments. And the way some percentage of the appointments are wasted, patients do not come, doctors are not coming or something, and the further reaching kind of outcome and impact on the economy is that a specific person with the light symptoms goes to an appointment which does not take place just because the doctor is ill or something else, and so 1 hour, 2 hours is lost from the economy, to be quite directly, okay?
Yep.
And same on the other side. Now, I think the disruption for the better in the public healthcare system would be to introduce the effective asynchronous consultations, right, and appointments or interaction with patients. This alone would save, I can safely say, thousands, if not tens of thousands, man hours for every country, no matter the size. And imagine the impact into the
I do
economy.
imagine, and I could hire you as our spokesperson because that's exactly our goal.
This alone, I don't care about at this point. I don't even want to mention the quality of interaction, the quality of solution, It's just a matter of like managing the whole process, right, of interaction. And just as you said, I think 50, 60%, 70% could be easily done in asynchronous way of interaction with daily rounds. And the only thing is to make sure that they are regular and they do take place, right? And that's it. And then imagine the level of stress goes down, and so biochemistry in so many bodies will be influencing positively the mind, and everybody will be happy. We'll have time to read books that you have behind you, and so on and so on. You know what I mean? Like the solution is fine, but the far-reaching kind of impact into lives and economies even probably are the key arguments for every gov relationship manager that would join your company soon, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the plan. We want that to become the standard of care, not just for private healthcare, for add-on to the sometimes not efficient government payers, but yeah, to make it a standard for every interaction with the doctor. Because I mean, doctors, whether they work in a private hospital or clinic or public one, they're the same doctors. They want to do a good job. They want to support their patients. And we believe if we create that as a standard of care, that if you are my patient, you can communicate with me between visits, and a visit is a necessity sometimes, but it isn't always. And that gets reimbursed by the insurer or by the public payer or by the patient out of pocket. That's what we're really aiming for, that it becomes a standard. Obviously, it's not necessary always. You might have an acute consultation sometimes, but and you might go to a call center or to HIMSS or any other like OTC doctor, automated doctor to give you a prescription that you want, and you don't want any diagnosis or whatever. You just want the drug or whatever. But for that consumerized healthcare, probably there will be a simpler solution than this. But we believe, just if you look at that, we have just one health in our life, and it's quite precious, and we care for our cars sometimes better than for ourselves. And we don't have the knowledge to really be improving our health and monitoring everything ourselves without the support of a trusted advisor that has spent years sometimes learning medicine. Yeah, that's what we would love to do. So I totally agree that the huge bet is on public in the future, but we need to start somewhere. And obviously, as any startup, even venture funded, we need to find ways to bring this to people and to scale it. And then whatever takes more time, for example, stuff like public sector, will come slightly later.
Let me just make a leap sideways for a minute or so. You mentioned health, that we have just one health for the whole life. I think it was Warren Buffett who mentioned to a group of students in the States, saying, how would you treat a car that you know it would be the only car for the whole of your life? Would you treat it well? Would you like oil it and clean and check it regularly and so on and so on? Yeah, of course. And then he made the switch to health, right? And taking care of your own body. And everybody was like, oh, what a clever old man. Yeah, interesting. Last question. Interesting, important as well. Pricing. And when you mention pricing, for what country is this pricing live, and how many paying patients? I understand, right? Doctors don't pay.
Doctors don't pay. It's if they have a free patient, for example, if they are in a public hospital and they provide that service for free, they don't pay anything. But if they charge for it, we charge a small percentage of every subscription. And the doctors set the price, because obviously doctors are different. Sometimes it's a world-class doctor, many years of experience. Okay. And a beginner GP in a small city, for the cost of living there is different. So the doctor sets their own price, and we have everything from 12 euros a month to 100 euros a month. And sometimes there is a small onboarding fee where the doctor does your full checkup and so on, and that's slightly bigger. But then the doctors, we are like Shopify here. I mean, we don't want to unify all the doctors to have one pricing, because that's, if the government does that, the quality and the motivation levels and so on are not aligned with the patient sometimes. And obviously patient cohorts are very different depending on the severity of illness, depending on the working style of the doctor, whether I see you every week or whether I see you twice a year, or even in most cases 0 times a year, because you're a healthy 25-year-old, and you just want I don't know, prescriptions from time to time if you have a cold, or some support, or maybe you're a triathlon, weightlifting, whatever, biohacker, and you want to consult your Garmin and other data every week with me, then you might have a different treatment plan. And I might actually have, if I work like that, I might have a much bigger price. So that's what we're having right now. We believe that if we move more into insurance reimbursed or public payer reimbursed doctors for oncology or others, it might be more expensive. If we move to care teams, it might be more expensive per month because you will be getting more for that. We have some doctors that bundle it with some labs and some other additional things. So we actually turn any doctor into a designer of a subscription-based health plan. Yeah.
Tomasz, bundling is also based on the initiative of your doctors.
Yes.
Ah, okay, cool. Interesting. Do you supervise the process of bundling? Sometimes they might cross the line and maybe bundle the unbundleable. Would you correct this?
This
or
is just
this
starting.
Is...
So I mean, we definitely
okay.
support our doctors like a normal franchise would in everything. So we help them in marketing. We help to them in patient communication, in being a proactive doctor, in the culture. We know why we are doing this. So we want to attract doctors that share our belief that this is how healthcare should be, that want to be there for their patients, but don't want to be misused somehow. So we support in pricing, we support in communication, in launching that practice, and in reaching desired level of patients. Because some of our doctors say, okay, I'm working in a hospital, I can manage maybe 30 extra patients on Doctor.One. And some say, I can do it actually half time right now. And I would love to have like 300, 400 maybe patients that I know. So maybe 100 families. and like I can support them and do that in 1 or 2, maybe 3 hours a day. And that's how they're starting.
Okay. And still, you didn't mention the percentage of the fee that you're taking.
We're taking a 12.5% cut.
Say it again, 12.5.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's below what other interesting company taking right now, Booksy. I think they're at 18 or something.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, see, I mean, that's our starting model. We always wanted it to be a doctor-centric and doctor-friendly model. Obviously, we have our costs of technology and marketing and growth and so on. But we said, let's take the minimum that we can still grow with and that keeps doctor happy for the long term, because those are their patients, it's their work, and we want them to be sustainably happy with that model.
Yeah.
And that's our
Tomasz, don't get me wrong. I didn't want to allude to this price being too high or too low, just out of interest. And last question here, because we'll need to run onwards. So basically, as a marketplace, self-organizing as far as pricing policies for this on the side of service providers and service takers are probably allowed somehow to use the elements of reputation economy or reputation economy, right? So I guess one side, service providers or care providers are allowed by your like nature and definition of how they interact with the program, allowed to market themselves, to advertise, and maybe to give some external links and so on, and vice versa. Patients, after successful, let's say, interaction, I understand, are allowed to give what, like stars or some other reputation. Quite honestly, no. I tried to manage, to download and to register in the app itself. My bad, I didn't manage to, but here you are. You will help me with this.
Yeah.
So is reputation economy is part of the interaction as well?
No, it isn't. Why? I will explain. We believe, unlike finding a doctor that you don't know, where you need to make that decision on the spot, who is available right now, and I just want a doctor, and let's pick, I want a good cardiologist or whatever. Who is a good cardiologist? The stars are important. I want to quickly make that decision. Like just you go to Amazon, is it a good book? So I look at the stars. Doctor.One is a tool for existing doctors to connect with their patients that already know them and know their reputation and they want them. They have accepted their subscription level and they're in contact with them because they want exactly that doctor. So at least for now, there is no way for a patient that doesn't have a doctor to find a doctor based on stars on Doctor.One. You just either go to a doctor that you know and trust, and you ask them, would you be my doctor on Doctor.One? And that doctor isn't there yet. Well, you tell me, would you be open to that? And I'll just recommend you. And we contact that doctor. It takes us half an hour. We onboard that doctor, and the doctor might invite the patient. So it's a word of mouth right now. How it will evolve in the future, we'll see. But what we definitely don't want to do is create a market where people are buying stars just to get more patients or whatever. Because that's the opposite of what we want. We want a trust-based system where the doctors maybe refer patients to each other. I mean, one doctor to the other doctor, or patient to the other patient, but not a system where you go and randomly pick any random doctor, because that's the opposite of what we are. I mean, we see huge potential for that to solve acute problems in call center mode, or just for the need of finding any doctor. But if you're looking for a doctor for a decade, it's a different process, believe. And we're working on how to support patients that haven't found a doctor like that and would like to have a doctor like that. But it won't be stars, because doctors hate stars given by patients that are anonymous, that have spent 5 minutes with them. And the doctor that didn't have, obviously is under pressure because it's your health, it's your life, and I need to be professional, and I need to give you an answer on the spot. I cannot be asynchronously researching your specific, very complex case. I need to give you an answer in 5 minutes, otherwise you won't give me, if I don't pretend to be very knowledgeable, you'll give me a bad mark. Yeah, if I told you, oh, that's a very complex thing, I don't know. No doctor does that, because it's very, you'll get bad marks, but not a little stuff. So, in our case, doctors don't want it. They actually have shared with us many times that that's the part that they hate the most. Yeah. Imagine your company, if you're a manager in a company, having your calendar like that, run like this, that the meetings you have during the day can only be, your calendar is filled by your subordinates, by your employees. You don't manage any of those meetings. All of those meetings are 15 minutes. You only see most of those people once in your lifetime, so you don't know those people. And after every 15 minutes, they give you a star, whether you're a good boss or not. Yeah, that's the healthcare experience we're giving our doctors, and then we're wondering why 60% feel burnout after this. And we don't want that. So we want a patient that knows you, that likes you, that thanks you, and that you are in constant contact with, and that you can be a doctor you always wanted to be with, and not a supermarket clerk that just moves stuff around.
Yeah. That's okay. That's a strong picture. Okay, Tomasz, just to cap it all here for the first round of ours. Helicopter view, how many doctors on the platform? You said 70 so
70 something, almost 80.
Yeah, okay. How many patients you would say are active users, and how do you define active users?
Well, active users are patients that are paying to their doctor every month. Yeah. So our doctors have on average, because we just started in December as a pilot with first few doctors, and then we started onboarding them in January, February, and it's just starting. So some of our doctors are just having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 patients, and they're just learning. We have some that were like even joined a month ago and have now 20 or 20 plus. So they are really super fast bringing their patients on board. A model like ours exists in US, and it's called direct primary care. And in that model, doctors are moving from fee-for-service or charging per visit to charging per month. And in that model, doctors that are charging out of pocket in US are usually having 375 patients on average, maximum 600 per doctor. A standard for normal healthcare GP is 2,000, 2,500. So you can imagine the level of quality and knowledge about those patients is obviously way higher. And obviously the critics in US, where that model has developed over the last 10 years, have said, okay, you're taking great doctors out of the system. And because a great doctor that was curing 2,000 now is supporting only 500. But the people that wrote books about the direct primary care model and this philosophy of really returning to the relationship in healthcare say that this current model is leading to huge burnout rates and is actually keeping people from coming into the job of pediatrics or GP because people don't want to have a life like this. So if you want actually this job to be attractive for new doctors, we need to redesign it to be a great rewarding experience. And we believe with this job becomes great again, to quote somehow Donald Trump. But and we believe this actually isn't, because you can do it next to your normal job in the hospital or in a clinic, supporting those 300, 400 patients. It's not necessarily sucking people away, and even if it does, it will create a new wave of people that are coming and loving this job. Yeah?
I cannot finish this round and move on. Would you say potentially doctors can leave off of being part of this platform at some point?
It's not our goal. It might happen for some cohorts or some groups or subgroups of doctors that they do switch completely to this. When and if that happens, we'll see. There are in US where direct primary care has grown, doctors that just have turned to this completely. So I could imagine some doctors or some clinics changing to that model completely, from selling visits to selling subscriptions. And I would believe it's the future of value-based healthcare, that you're selling the outcome and not the visit itself. And so I could very well imagine that it becomes for some specializations a way to practice medicine full time. But it's not necessary. Our model works even if you hire a doctor with one patient. So if it's your family member or a special patient and you just want to keep supporting that person, you can start with one. Obviously, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense for you to just start for the sake of one patient. But it's okay if you do it for 10, 20, 50, 100 and not more. And just use it as an extra way to support your special patients that require special treatments. Yeah.
Around two competitors. Now, you mentioned in a couple of texts somewhere online that this is unique and this is unique approach to healthcare provision and so on. But are there any really strong competitors that you look up to, or you would like to have a sparring match in like real business life, so to say? Which ones?
Well, obviously, there are tens of amazing healthcare companies in the world, and healthcare clinics and healthcare startups and unicorns that we're trying to learn as much as possible for. And in terms of what we're really in most cases replacing, our biggest competitor is a phone of the doctor and their text messages, their WhatsApps, their Facebook messages, their emails, their telegrams, whatever they have. And that's our number one alternative, where how we are different is obviously that you get paid for that it's secure. It's because we are a clinic, we are not just a technology provider, we are a medical service provider. It's reporting everything integrated with a government health record. So if I send you a prescription right now, it goes directly to the medical health records on the national level. The daily round obviously manages expectations. So the patient, if I write to you on WhatsApp, it's illegal because I shouldn't be sharing my medical data with you as a doctor on WhatsApp or Facebook. But other from that or text, I just don't know if you'll answer. So some of our doctors have shown us their phones with 19 messages from the one patient in a day before they managed to respond, because the patient was curious, will you respond? Oh, this is very urgent or whatever. And they're writing and writing and writing and writing. And some of their doctors get that at night and sometimes during the day, whatever. And that's a game changer for us in terms of relationships. So to us, this is the biggest thing we're mostly replacing.
So streamlining the communication, right?
Yes,
the communication
yes.
channels, and also adding
and
some
the communication
on
channels
top.
that were outside of government or healthcare systems or clinics, that were in addition to, somehow not paid, not regulated, not legal sometimes, whatever. The other thing that we are really replacing is the doctor visit. The doctor visit as the main and number one model of care, where it doesn't matter if the visit is online or offline, because it's still the same synchronous visit. It blocks the same number of minutes per doctor, and it maybe even burns out the doctor sometimes more, because you have zero movements, whatever. You're staying for hours in front of your laptop. You cannot touch the patient and move and build connection and so on. So we are really trying to replace the visits that are not necessary. Not all of them, obviously, but that's our other competitor that we are fighting. And that competitor has another friend, which is a fee-for-service model, because fee-for-service model is connected to the visit. I pay you for a visit, and that's how I get reimbursed, or somebody pays me, or whatever. So, and I get paid as a doctor. If I want to earn more money, I need to do more visits, and more time in your clinic. And we want to move away and have the doctor make money irrespective of how many visits they have, and just focus on how many patients they support.
Tomasz, I remembered one of the questions popped up in my mind right now. Do you allow patients to exchange pictures or to send pictures to doctors?
Of course.
Okay.
Labs, pictures, whatever.
No, I mean even patient taken by patients. So there's something. Hey, TP.
I have a rash, and should I go to the doctor or whatever? Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a very basic WhatsApp functionality.
And when you say we are a clinic, how are you a clinic, like in the legal or formal way? Are you registered as a clinic, or is it just you call yourself?
We are registered as a clinic. We have a clinic director. We have gone through the formal authorization process. We have doctors that we are hiring, and so on. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, we should have started with this information. That's interesting. So a truly virtual clinic, right? I would say.
Yes. Yeah.
Tomasz, let's move on. Round 3, quick Q&A, very quick. And this is where I like to learn productivity hacks from my guests. I mean, who knows you knows that you've been pretty busy with your career and contribution to tech, should I say, landscape in Poland, and not necessarily only in Poland. I've been myself to like tons of meetings and events and meetups at the Heart, and thank you very much for this contribution and so on. But you seem to be like, you have to be busy CEO of a growing company. How do you optimize your to-do list, or what are the best productivity hacks that you could help? And again, not the tools, but the ways you do things.
Yeah. So probably I would mention two things. One is that I try to build companies that don't need me at some point. And I've built a few of them. The oldest one is 24 years, almost 25 years old, that I set up when I was a first-year student at university. And each year, the new board comes to me and my wife that I met in that company.
Okay.
And we meet the board and so on. So I've seen that the joy of watching your babies grow independent of you. Yeah. I've in the same way I've built the Hearts with my co-founders, and then after some time I found a great CEO that is continuing my mission and growing the company beyond what I could have done, and I've done it with a few other companies. So that's my first assumption, and I think that might happen, that this will happen obviously at some point to Doctor.One, that will reach a stage where I'm not probably the best CEO, and there will be a better one. I guess in every company that moment comes, maybe after a decade or 2 or 3 or whatever, if you're really persistent as a CEO. But this moment will come. And if we want to build a company that's bigger than yourself, you just need to have that assumption and build that. Yeah, I had the benefit of starting this first company. That it was a student-run organization, so there was a mindset that you only can be there for a year. Yeah, and every CEO that we hired took the keys to the car and then drove it for a year and then gave the car to the next generation every year. So I have that mindset in me that your success is measured by not by how your year is performing, but how the successor's year is performing. Yeah. And whether you are setting up processes and culture and whatever to live on when you're gone. Yeah. So that's my first life hack and rule, which maybe isn't that obvious and common, but I'm trying not to be the center of the universe that is irreplaceable, rather the opposite. So I'm trying to find great people that will continue the mission without me. Second,
Tomasz, is this connected with your urge to create more companies, newer ideas, and so on, or your aversion to operational management of a business?
Both.
Okay. So I read between the lines. So the hunter rather than the farmer, right? I understand.
Well, I'm a farmer, and I do for 5 years, sometimes 10 years, growing a company. In Novatica, I spent almost 12 years. In the meantime, I was dealing with other companies, but definitely. I don't think that I'm just doing these things all the time, a few months, and then lost interest, but when I feel that I'm not necessarily needed and I can build something else that's meaningful, I love doing that. And maybe by my nature, because I love the act of actual creation and the baby, and when it's 0 to 1 versus 1 to 1,000. Yeah. So that's one. Second one is when you're building a company and a brand. Seth Godin wrote a great book about building tribes, or the tribes we lead, that you can find on TED. His speech on that. And I really believe that whenever we're building something new, what we're really doing, in order to scale from early adopters to majority and so on, we're really building movements. Yeah. And how you build movements is just like how you build religions. Yeah, you have evangelizations, you connect people, you give them the sense of belonging, and so on. And through this, you create a contagious virus effect that others bring others, and so on and so on. And that's something which I've done with the Heart by creating a space where people come and connect. And we built a brand, and then we started giving the Heart Awards to the community of corporates doing venture building and startup scouting and innovation and so on. And that brought other companies on board and so on. And we were really building a movement of companies that are doing open innovation and venture building and so on. I've done the same earlier a few times, and we are trying to do the same right now with doctors, building a movement of doctors that are changing the way they practice medicine. So that's I think the second topic that I would quote. I don't have tips on personal productivity, like 5 a.m., getting up at 5 a.m. I actually have a hack for that. If you really read those 5 a.m. books and you cannot get to that, I got a dog last year during COVID that wakes me up 4:45 every day, every single day. I don't know what that dog is eating, but she really wants to go every day in the morning, 4:45. I'm not that strong yet to stay up that early in the morning, so I sometimes go back to bed. But I get up quite often at 5. So I don't have those productivity life hacks that I might share. In terms of tools, I definitely am a hugely visual person. So I use Mural a lot and create maps and visual maps of what we're building or brainstorm. So obviously during COVID, I had to transform a lot of my workshops and creative work into Mural. So I love doing that. And I complement usually my second co-founder, and it was the case with my first and second and third, whatever co-founders are more financial guys and Excel people, and I'm a visual person. I need to draw concepts and the graphs and whatever. So I use Mural a lot.
Mind map template Mural, which is mural.co for everybody, for anybody interested, me included, to check it out. Thank you, Tomasz. Let's move on. The round 4, the company. So the company, as you said, was registered or launched around about half a year ago. The founding team is yourself, Tomasz Rudolf, CEO co-founder, Maciej Malenda, COO co-founder, I understand, with long experience in healthcare innovation, with a huge global tech and let's say international medical healthcare provider as well. You didn't mention the name. I will not mention myself as well. And then you have also a new CTO, Jan Namedinsky, who is very active right now on LinkedIn, trying to hire guys or new tech people for the team. I understand. And altogether, you are 12, including teams of marketing, UX designers, doctor services, and so on. What about, I mean, as far as backend and the product itself, we discussed that. Now, where's the challenge in growing the business? What I mean, how many do you have on the marketing sales side, and do you want to grow that, or are you okay now in this respect? Because all the challenges on the tech side are more or less easy to foresee, right? Everybody has challenges.
Everybody has, and obviously right now it's pretty hard to hire great IT talent. We are lucky to have a great team of about 10 developers right now that are doing an amazing job, and we have grown after just the second round. So after the seed round that we closed recently with Atlantic Labs in Berlin, we have grown our marketing team. We are growing our doctor onboarding and doctor success teams. So because in our business, that's based mostly on doctors that bring their patients. The number one driver or North Star is to get more great doctors on board, the supply side, and then to help them communicate this or communicate it broadly, that people know that this model exists and that they can, whenever the doctor tells them about this opportunity, or whenever they approach a doctor about support, they know that this model could be the solution. So our marketing is right now 5 people, and we are growing also our doctor success team and doctor onboarding with some smart hacks, how not to spend too much money and really get to as many doctors as possible.
And as far as countries and geographies, right now, you're based in Poland.
We're based in Poland. We're preparing for international expansion, but we've just announced our seed round. So that's planned for the coming months.
And let me just remind myself. So the website itself, Doctor.One, has both Polish and English version, right? So far, okay.
Yeah.
What would be the most promising, you could say, non-home market outside of Poland? I mean,
we're definitely looking at Western Europe countries, high out-of-pocket spending and a low level of satisfaction with healthcare, like Spain or Italy or others. So there are many others we're assessing, but mostly right now focus on the out-of-pocket model. We are working on other models that will be necessary to reach other geographies as well. So other than out-of-pocket will be necessary before we move to other countries where that is a dominant model, like insurance, private insurance, or public. We'll grow it here in Poland as well.
Yeah, last question. As far as the team, remote or all in one place in an office, or a combo?
Both, a combo. We have a central office for a tech team, a central office for a commercial team, and a huge group of collaborators. Our core team is about 27 right now. So it's growing quite fast.
Tomasz, last but not least, round 5, Formula F3. We call this funding for the future. Let me just make a quick roundup. So altogether, in this half a year, so 7 months maybe, raised a total of 2.5 million euros, including what's that? Pre-seed seed, I understand, with leading VC partners as Atlantic Lab and Movens Capital. Movens Capital is pretty well known in Poland. Atlantic Labs, honestly, for me, was quite a new VC, but interesting lineup of companies in their portfolio, including health tech as well, like MedWings, Meditopia, Mobius Labs. I think they also were investors in SoundCloud.
Yes,
I guess. Yeah, true. Okay, and of course, Movens. They also have Steto.me, right? One of those companies. I saw them once in Katowice in this EKG event. I think like 4 years ago or so. Made pretty big commotion. So tell me, was it how difficult or what's interesting about getting, financing or closing financing round with a non-Polish VC, and how different it is from interacting with the Polish VC?
Well, Polish VC was super fast because we got it done within two weeks. With the first one we talked to.
Wait. Is it because the project is so cool and great, or is it because you brought in the gravitas of your own positioning and image on the market?
I really, because it's a first venture funded business, frankly, that I'm building. I've interacted with VCs.
What took us so long? What took us so long then?
I don't know. I mean, I was bootstrapping all my life, and I didn't know a different way. And obviously, within the heart, we worked a lot with the VC ecosystem, and at some point, with our ambitions and global plans and so on, I said, okay, obviously, we might try to bootstrap this, but there's huge IT costs and growth and whatever. So let's build it with VCs. And obviously, I've known Arthur and Michał for 2 decades now. So it was like a trusted advisor in getting next rounds and so on. And one that obviously the VC ecosystem is quite complex, and you might trust some people more than the others, and some support you more than the others, and so on and so on. So we knew we wanted the money quickly so that we can hire the best people and get the technology right and so on, rather than bootstrap for a year or two and then fundraise later. But we knew that the second round we want to do with an internationally experienced company that has supported startups in scaling and in getting bigger A rounds. And Atlantic Labs, frankly, was jaw-dropping for us in terms of like quality of contact and understanding of our business, but also due diligence. Daniel, which we've worked closely with, Daniel Niemi, who was a principal responsible for the deal. He spent a week doing checks on background checks on all my co-founders in the past and so on, and my colleagues' businesses, and he talked to I don't know, 7 of our doctors and all our staff and so on and so on. And when I talked in return to his portfolio companies, he told me that, obviously, besides being really supportive, he told me that this guy could run the company if I get sick or hit by a tram or whatever today. This guy could manage the company because he understands the tiny details of the model, of the team, whatever. So we really wanted to have a trusted guided advisor for this next phase, for the A round and for scaling this. And Atlantic Labs, we found on the top 10 deal room prominence rank in Europe for seed rounds. So yeah, that was our obvious choice. It wasn't easy.
Interesting. Yeah,
but it was. We were one of the first two investments they did in Poland, so that wasn't super easy. But we managed to. Frankly, I must say it. We talked to probably 50 of investors over 2 months, and many of them without healthcare experience, some of them with deep healthcare focus. When we talked to them, we were just few weeks on the market, so that was very early, and some just required more validation, more traction. Some thought we were crazy to redefine everything in the model from the doctors inviting patients rather than bringing patients to doctors, to eliminating visits when everybody is a booking engine for visits, and so on and so on. So everything we've done, people said, "Oh my gosh, you're either smart or crazy," and we don't know if it's going to work. So we had some great discussions with a lot of VCs. Some of them said, "Yeah, good luck. But we are rather investing in copycats. So if you see certain patterns of business models, like a booking engine or a hybrid clinic with virtual first model and so on. And you see VCs that are biggest in the country investing in the biggest player with a certain business model pattern in a country with a strong team behind. But then if you look in Europe, a huge majority of them are like Me Too businesses. They're very similar, especially in the digital health space. And even at the heart, when we were in our scouting work in digital health, analyzing 900, I think, global telemedicine platforms, so many of them were very similar. It was amazing. And almost nobody like redefined it from scratch. So it was a very risky thing, a risky bet for those people to believe that we might do it. But obviously Macei's experience in healthcare and being head of innovation in a leading regional player in this space, and some of my experience in venture building was probably helpful in getting people to just, try it.
Tomasz, interesting note you mentioned there about Daniel Neme from Atlantic Labs. So first and foremost, he's not a junior. I thought he was like a junior and he had to prove that he's doing a good job and so on and so on. No, checking his LinkedIn profile, used to be a board member and CEO of a company and so on and so on. Now, would you say this is peculiarity of this specific fund, and it's really different from all the other funds, not doing such a deep due diligence, like you said, what, several people that they checked and talked to and so on and so on. Why is this unique, you would say, and why other VCs don't do this? Because of the push to allocate as soon as possible, and then
do it. I mean, I just haven't experienced it to that extent. The willingness to understand every detail of the model and the people behind and so on, so that you have strong conviction. And as a founder, you really want to know that those people aren't just investing in whatever comes based on a feeling, that they really understand what you're doing and they know what comes with what they're investing into. Because we are not a copycat. That obviously, because of that, we are a little bit insecure because we are trying things out as we go, and we have no answers for everything. We are not, I don't know, Rocket Internet copying Zappos or eBay or whatever, or Airbnb, and that is tough. I must say, it's not super easy to be a captain on a ship where you're really discovering and you land to some extent. We
without
don't have
a map.
Without a map. So it's good to have investors who are either founders themselves or have seen 110 other trips like that to discover new land, and they know what are the problems to avoid, and they support you on the way.
Guys, everyone, Tomasz Rudolf, CEO, founder, co-founder of Doctor.One, captain of a ship, which is, he's steering through the stormy waters of global inefficient healthcare system. And we wish all the best to have as few impatient patients as possible and as happy doctors and patients, thanks to your platform and the business model that you are developing. And that, just as we mentioned before, the impact is on so many levels other than health, but of course, based on good health of people around the globe. Wish all the best. Thank you very much for this conversation. Really exciting. And I'm sure we could go on forever. It's such an interesting topic. Thank you. Good luck. All the best. And we'll be following.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.